Alright, test. It's looking good. The Fed vs Pulsechain V3 testnet. So I had a look at the prices when the news dropped. You had a look at something like about 25% up on 24-hour period or something, an hour period in one instance. It then pulled back just a little bit, back down to about 9% or so. I thought I'll take the prices between the two, average 11 cents, give or take. So it's not doing too bad. And currently, the price is actually sitting around that. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, 11.38, so very close. So got that out of the way. Not that. Alright, cool. There you go. So I guess many people are going to be covering V3 testnet, how to access it, what you can and can't do currently, etc, etc. I'll cover that briefly in the end. Before I do get to that though, because I think it's quite an exciting journey in cryptocurrency at this point in time, especially because we're seeing some interesting developments take place globally. I'll start off with the good. Basically, we're seeing crypto, well, one individual I'm not familiar with, but they said, and reportedly in this article, crypto self-custody, future safety net. Basically, as HEXicans, Pulseicans, Pulsexicans, you're probably aware of the saying, not your keys, not your coins. This article goes on to explain, there's a fragility in the banking system, and that they think it marks a broader recognition that crypto can serve as a safe haven for storing wealth because there's no counterparty risk involved. You are your own bank with your own crypto. Again, they refer to Bitcoin here, but I would more generally refer to the entire cryptocurrency space because I think that's where this is going. Here we can see legislation put forward regarding Bitcoin again. I guess at a state level in the US, basically Texas takes a stand for Bitcoin rights with introduction of new bill. Now, if you go down, I noticed this through Twitter. Basically, Texas introduces bill to protect rights of Bitcoin holders, miners, and developers. Interestingly enough, it says Bitcoin is a secure and peer-to-peer transactions are confirmed by Bitcoin miners who use specialized computers and complex algorithms to solve maths problems. The first miner to solve the problem wins the block and receives newly minted Bitcoins as a block reward. Newly minted, probably one of the key words in that one. It also goes on to say the bill also states that no citizen will ever be deprived of their right to own Bitcoin, I would say crypto as well, and speaks about their protection. The bill also reaffirmed the safety of owning and dealing with Bitcoin in the state. So again, positive. I think it's a positive. Again, it's not that we're going to sit back and this is all going to magically happen for us. I think we're all going to have to get out and get involved politically, peacefully, in some way, shape or form to try and push back against what could be coming in the crypto space. Now, what could be coming in the crypto space? Well, we'll move on to the national level here. So the national level, although national Florida governor, sorry, I was thinking he was because he's potentially running for US president. DeSantis has basically brought in a new legislation, so state level again, banning CBDCs. Now, he goes on to explain that it refers to it as Big Brother's digital dollar. It also states here which supporters of US CBDC have referenced to suggest the US risks falling behind on technology, while critics have said it simply illustrates China's continued capital controls. So if you're pro CBDC because you're risking falling behind the technology China uses, the next paragraph explains it briefly by saying, without explicitly naming names, DeSantis said CBDCs would be used to exercise their agenda. If introduced, including, he argued, limiting the amount of gasoline a person could purchase or preventing them from buying a firearm. So again, similar, well, a control mechanism that China would use it. That people are worried that we're falling behind China, or people in the US are falling behind China, or people outside of China are falling behind their technology, which is used to censor and control the masses. It goes on to explain here, Fox News host Tucker Carlson recently connected the collapse of SVB to the potential rollout of a CBDC on his show, Tucker Carlson Tonight, while he cautioned, "We're not alleging a conspiracy here." He also alleged that bank consolidation will lead to more government control and a CBDC being launched. If people don't start making a lot of noise and exerting a lot of pressure, it'll mean a currency that politicians control. Carlson said, "Sign up for the CBDC app and you get your food stamps." So that is, I think, a very strong talking point across the board. I'm hearing from a lot of different places, the same sort of hesitancy for central bank digital currencies because of the technology that it could roll out upon the masses. Now, if you're not doing anything wrong, you'll be okay. I'm not sure that's the best argument for a central bank digital currency, because also remembering central bank digital currencies would most likely require the either confiscation of cash or maybe it just becomes absolutely worthless. Now, is that a path you really want to go down, world, where there's literally no anonymity anymore? And when there's no anonymity, and if you're hooked into a centralized control system, it makes your freedom of choice less free. You can put it that way. Again, not that you're going to do anything wrong, or you have any intentions of doing anything wrong, but if you take away your born right to have free will and make choices as you see fit as an informed adult of sound mind, why would you give that up to someone else, especially a government who so far have had a pretty bad track record? So moving on to the arm of the government, specifically the US, we're seeing this here. Some people are saying that the SEC is completely out of control, according to this article. Now, over the past weeks, regulators such as the SEC unveiled a slew of enforcement actions against crypto companies in what many industry players view as a hostile attack on crypto and US innovation. So again, US based. A former CFTC commissioner and current head of policy at a different company business of some sort, stated that the SEC is completely out of control. They're going rogue. So we're seeing a trend here. We're seeing some people waking up to central bank digital currencies, the benefits of cryptocurrency in general, not your keys, not your coins, and the need to actually get involved politically where they can and push back. Because we see here industry players, many industry players have now turned towards potential legislative solution with support from both Democrats and Republicans. So it's not just sort of a left versus right or right versus left or whatever point to argue about. It's people are really getting together from all walks of life and understanding that something's not right. They can feel it in their gut. They've seen it for many years. They've seen things develop and grow and become, it's like an out of control snowball rolling down a very steep hill. At the end of that steep hill, there is a cliff. What that cliff entails, no one knows just yet, but it's quite concerning. Have a look at the purchasing power of the US dollar and its flow-on effects on the rest of the world. Have a look at the flow-on effects of prolonged military-industrial engagements across the globe. Have a look at how people were all controlled throughout certain pandemics that took place, whereby freedoms again were taken away. Have a look at the Patriot Act, for example. It's called the Patriot Act, but is it actually that? I wonder. Now, this article goes on to say there are many issues where there aren't many issues. There are not many issues where you'll see these two politicians agreeing. They're seeing bipartisan interests. That gives hope, you know. which is good. But again, are you really going to vote your way out of this situation, whatever the potential situation is that we're looking at in the future? Moving on. We're now seeing here, Wall Street Journal opinion. This person was right about Signature Bank. The FDIC all but confirms it closed the bank over crypto. It sounds like a conspiracy, right? We never thought would write that headline, but it goes on to explain, except for those of crypto companies. The Flagstar Bank will assume all of Signature's bank cash deposits, except for those of crypto companies. So, okay. Mr. Frank alleged explains below in the article, highlighted here. That means crypto companies will have to find another bank to safeguard their deposits. Many say that government warnings to banks about doing business with crypto customers is making that hard. So what are we seeing? You know, like the general trend. So cryptocurrency is not going anywhere. Why was Bitcoin invented? Banks kept failing in the system. Well, individual taxpayers were paying money to bail out poorly operated financial systems, such as, you know, banks that were failing due to the mortgage crisis. And now, many years later, there is bank runs taking place, and the bank runs are taking place because, well, why is it taking place? Let's move on to the Fed and the interest rates. But before we do, let's have a look at the SEC. What do? The US Securities and Exchange Commission has a three-part mission: protect investors, maintain fair and orderly, efficient markets, facilitate capital formation. All right. In Australia, I guess you'd call it the Australian Securities and Investment Commission, regulates registered companies, financial markets, and providers of financial services and credit services. All right. So my concern is if these ongoing hostility from the SEC towards things like crypto starts to spill over to other markets, such as Australian markets, we may see hostile environments. Now, when I say hostile environments, example one that I can think of is this one here. There's basically, although they say they don't intend to comment about publicly on what's going on regarding ongoing investigations or other legal matters, said they're cooperating with the SEC, then says presumably regarding concerns over its native token Sushi. The headline is from Blockwork: SushiSwap defense fund against SEC subpoena already in the works. So again, SushiSwap DeFi contract, and then SEC has decided to move toward it in a hostile manner, I would say. Now, their aims are to protect investors, maintain fair, orderly, and efficient markets, and facilitate capital formation. I mean, I don't read anywhere there where it says to stifle innovation, which arguably is what a lot of this feels like to me, very strongly. Now, further than that, we're seeing banks having bank runs. Now, why are they having bank runs? Because they went out and invested in bonds, and the bonds that they invested in, you know, went down severely in price because the interest rates kept increasing. Now, moving on to that topic, we have this here. The narrative of US shock decision. It's a shock decision. It's a shocking decision. Remember when people were saying on March 22nd, Wednesday, 2 p.m., there will be an announcement. And apparently it is a shock decision as bank crisis continues. Now, so I click on this link. Let's have a look. We've got US Federal Reserve raises interest rates. Well, they've been signaling that for how many months now? How many meetings back to back have they said we're going to raise interest rates? We're going to keep raising interest rates. So, you know, this US Federal Reserve raising interest rates, maybe the message wasn't relayed to these banks who decided to invest in instruments that as the interest rate went up, the price of their bonds went down. So their holdings started to go a lot lower. Now, they weren't even, why weren't they hedging? Where was their risk managers in all of this? Their portfolio risk managers. You're telling me that we're having bank runs because a bank can't manage their portfolio in the face of constant signaling that they're going to raise rates. So they decided to invest in instruments like bonds that, as you know, you have $100 and the rate goes up 10 times, the $100 is worth what? $80, $70. Now you times that by a few million, a few billion, whatever. You've got a pretty bad, you've got some big losses right there. It just so happens to be, it just so happens to be a bank which happens to have ties to cryptocurrency. So while all the good is going on, we're seeing, you know, people realizing not your keys, not your coins. We do have to remember what just happened recently. Before we had multiple exchanges failing. We had Celsius, FTX, SBF. Is he in jail? I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure he's out on bail. That doesn't seem right. But anyway, who cares about that, right? You have all sorts of ties to different political campaigns. You could go back even further and have a look at what took place when, you know, Trump was in presidency at the zero reserves. His actual what's the word I'm looking for? The way he allowed Pfizer to operate. Now, in closing, basically, remember the best way to avoid a bank collapse in your area is to be up to date with your COVID vaccines and boosters. Stay safe. So I think I'll end it there because it's very interesting where this is all going. In closing, I'll try and close this one out. People realizing, not your keys, not your coins, specifically relating to Bitcoin in this article, but maybe they're going to realize one day Ethereum, smart contracts, etc. People at the state level trying to give and ensure people have their rights regarding cryptocurrency. People trying to ban central bank digital currencies at a state level, potentially at a national level, if, you know, DeSantis were to become US president in the future. We also see other media outlets explaining the similarities between a central bank digital currency in Australia or the US, and comparing that to China and their social credit system. We are seeing people getting the feel that some arms of the government, such as the SEC, are almost outright hostile towards innovation. We are seeing banks who had ties to cryptocurrency basically having bank runs on them because of individuals' lack of ability to manage a portfolio when the interest rates were being signaled multiple times they're going to keep increasing. Maybe they were signaling about some other topics but that weren't so important. Maybe they should have been focusing on how to keep their banks solvent. We're seeing the SEC, I would say, stifle innovation in many, many ways. We see an example here, although it's not commented exactly on what is happening. The assumption is, you know, more SEC actions, which they will allege, I'm assuming, that they're trying to protect investors, maintain fair, orderly, and efficient markets, and facilitate capital formation. Meanwhile, banks are having anyway, as I said. The Fed has raised rates again. Now, will they do it again after this? But leading up to this, it was pretty clear that they were going to do this. Now, for some reason, maybe the media thought that if we signal hard enough that, you know, they'll pivot and they'll stop and they'll start lowering rates, and then the markets will be saved because of the bank runs. It really is interesting to watch as in this case, cryptocurrency was actually falling. alongside all of this. So it wasn't the huge pumps we saw with cryptocurrency. We're seeing crypto pull back a bit in line with this shocking news announcement from the Fed, which everyone already knew, but you know, the media didn't. Okay. Back to the thumbnail. The Fed versus Pulsechain V3 testnet. So this is why, as all this other stuff is going on, people appear to be blind to the stealth hypersonic cruise missile that is flying through the space of cryptocurrency, arguably even the financial legacy system. That is Pulsechain. Now, today, a few hours ago, the testnet was launched. Now, it doesn't seem to be complete. It also offers here information, how to learn about your responsibilities, prepare nodes, practice on testnet, avoid phishing, time to deposit, wait to become active. Now it says here, becoming a validator is a big responsibility with important preparation steps. Only start the deposit process once you're ready, because you'll be playing with real tokens in a real live environment. This is why I'm in cryptocurrency. It's not because for mad gains. I mean, the mad gains are nice, like, you know, Hex did what, well, some other tokens that are still around did what since their inceptions, etc, etc. Now, my luck was with Hex. I think it will also be with Pulschain and Pulsex. And I think as time has progressed, as I've learned more in the cryptocurrency space, not just simply how to read the transactions and identify them, etc, etc, I think it's time to become a validator. I think anyone in the cryptocurrency space who believes in cryptocurrency maybe should consider this, assuming you know what you're doing, assuming you've done, maybe have a read of this page, you know, because all the bills in the world saying we're going to protect the rights of the Bitcoin holders, and we're going to try and ban CBDCs, and we're going to push back against the SEC and explain to them why they're wrong, and there could be stifling innovation, I would say. In the face of the US Fed raising interest rates unexpectedly, apparently, although they've been messaging so strong that they're going to do that, but for some reason, you know, the Dow falls more than 500 points after the Fed. You know, people probably could have seen this and made money off this. But back to the crypto space. If you hear people saying, we think we should protect the rights of Bitcoin holders, but there was no miners of Bitcoin, or there was no miners of Ethereum, you know, how pro-crypto are they really? You know, we're seeing talks about trying to ban a CBDC. That's good, but maybe you run parallel to banning a CBDC. How about you actually go out and run a node, become a validator, on something like Pulsechain, Ethereum, I don't know. Be a miner, help secure the network in Bitcoin. Something, do anything. Write to your politicians, explain to them. Go, if you're so pro-crypto, how many nodes are you running? How many validators are you going to run? Do you even know about this Pulsechain that's just come out and is causing shockwaves? It's back up, Hex is now back up over 12 cents in the middle of a crypto bloodbath, because for some reason everyone's in the legacy system is tying legacy to crypto. Real crypto is pulling away from legacy-ish type crypto, the majority. Maybe except for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Because, you know, they are what they are. So that would be my message. That would be the main message of this video. If you really believe in cryptocurrency, real cryptocurrency, maybe consider running or becoming a validator if you're able to. Because all the talk in the world is not going to actually secure a network, a real decentralized network. I mean, what next? They're going to ban the tools to create a computer. They're going to ban microchips. They're going to ban math calculators. They're going to ban mathematics. Like, I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, they may try, but if they're doing that, how free is our country? How free is your country? I don't live in a communist country. Why does the government feel in some instances, why do they continue to act more and more like an authoritarian regime, a tyrannical government? I honestly don't know. So push back politically, get involved when you can, peacefully, politically. Maybe run some nodes, learn about code, learn about the freedom of speech. Learn about what your regulators actually do. Maybe push back against them where you can. Once you do these things, you may see the world in a slightly different light. It might be slightly tainted, but maybe you won't be surprised when you see the Fed raising your interest rate and then the stock market tanking. Maybe that won't come as a surprise to you. What came as a surprise to me was the timing of the testnet. It was perfect. It was so perfect. Everything was crashing and crumbling, and testnet gets launched. Basically launched. You know, you can. There's some functions that maybe I haven't seen anyone go over yet, or haven't had the icon to click on. But while everything is crushing and crumbling, Pulsechain is pretty strong. HEXicans, Pulseicans, Pulsexicans. We're going to be involved in the real cryptocurrency, is what I would call it. I guess following maybe Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum, etc., etc. But yeah, it really is beautiful. All right, so that's about it. I'm going to sign out and maybe do some research on how to become a validator. All right, thank you. Peace. What's happening, chat?